And it was really hard for me to sort of break the middle of my childhood. I moved here when I was 11 and just sort of drop everything and then come to a new place. And people just sort of expected me. I would say that my aunts and uncles and my grandfather sort of expected me to have the mentality like welcome home, and when I got here they were like welcome back. But I didn't feel like I was welcome back, I felt like I was moving to a new place. I think that one thing I miss is people that I meet everywhere. I sort of get very attached because I'm a very emotional person and I like to be profound with people. But since I travel so much and go to so many different places, at the same time there are people that I'm probably never going to see again, but who knows. And it wasn't something that I feel like people really embraced about me until I got to college.
My junior year of college, I went and lived in Strasbourg, France. After I finished that year, I went back to Canada and I was there for another year, and then I finished my undergraduate degree and I applied to graduate school at the University of Colorado at Boulder. In between my master's degree and my PhD, I went and lived in Tours, France, and I taught English at the Université François Rabelais.
We've been in America now for, I want to say like 17 years. People always find it weird that I'm not American. I speak English, I've lived here, but I'm still Chilean. I have a green card, so I'm a permanent resident, and through my mother's family, I actually have French citizenship, which is really great because whenever I go to Europe, I get to travel as an EU citizen. My junior year, I went abroad to Bologna, Italy.
It's definitely invaluable, a great experience.
I was born in East Berlin. I grew up in East Germany. I left East Germany in 1974, and then I lived for a little bit in West Berlin. And afterwards I came to the United States. Then I came to Dickinson, to Carlisle, and have been teaching German for the last 20-some years. In my particular case, leaving the country was the hard part because you couldn't leave East Germany in 1974. So what I did was an illegal act according to the East German authorities, which might have very well got me into jail. Probably the most difficult is to leave friends, family, landscapes. In a way, you cut off your own history. My family has Jews and Hindus, and now somebody from Korea, and of course Christians. So inside my own family, there's a diversity that makes me understand this country much better.
I was born in Algiers, and there I lived till my 19 of age. In 1979 I left Algeria to Libya, where I lived for 3 years and a half, and after that France, 1987, and from this date I live in Italy.
I like to think that I'm a really nice example of how you don't have to come from somewhere to be excited about it and to become a part of it someplace else. To sort of have that exciting sort of, I just made a sentence and I didn't think about it, or to have the dream sequence, the first dream where you realize that you're screaming in a different language and you didn't even think about you just knew what you were saying. I'd like to have that experience again.
And so when I come back to France, now I get the opposite feeling, like I'm more of a tourist. You're always in between places. I think what also makes my life good here is that I know I don't belong only to one place. And that's actually comforting for me. That back and forth is actually part of my personality, and I enjoy it. It gives me more freedom.
My wife is American, my kids are American too. I am in between in a certain way, and my children are in between in a different way. My children are really global, nomadic.
I think storytelling is really, really important because I've always wanted to write, and part of that is because I feel like I have a lot of stories in my mind. Telling the story is show the side of you that people don't see.
When I was sent to an American boarding school, well, things became much more complicated because when people were asking me, where are you coming from, Russia? Are you Greek? I didn't know what to answer. I think I got into the terms that it doesn't matter whether you're
just Russian or you're just Greek or you're American education or you're a German speaker or whatever you are. And just make them part of yourself. And it's complicated. Sometimes when I talk about the political issue, I just jump to a cultural issue and it becomes a mess, but it's actually what it is.
I don't really feel that I belong to one culture, so I wouldn't associate myself to like anything. Where I feel comfortable is home for me.
Wherever I go, people always sort of see me as different, like, oh, you're not from here. And it can also be a challenge because, I mean, then you feel like nobody really wants to accept you completely. Having sort of a lack of identity is kind of sad, and it's something that a lot of people envy because a lot of people want to have the ability to speak these languages and to be able to travel as much as I do and to have as many friends as I do in other places. But my sort of hidden secret is that I sort of am jealous of people sometimes that have stayed in one place their whole life. They have, you know, the friend that's always been there for them, or, you know, the school that they've always attended.
When I go back to Canada, I really feel a sense of belonging that is very, very calm and reassuring. And there are times when I go to France, I felt like, oh, this is a part of me too. There's a part of me that really belongs here.
It's something that is so special to me, my Chilean citizenship. I don't want to give it up. I want to live abroad. I want to feel like an outsider, but assimilate myself into that culture. Because then I learn. I want to be, you know, around difference.
I definitely started to think of myself as a citizen of this world. Like I definitely don't feel like one place is the place to be. I'm definitely not staying in Syria for a long time. I'm planning on applying for grad school in other countries. I mean, two possibilities now are Germany or Australia. And I don't think that if one wants to be a citizen of the world, can just stick to one place. We live in an age of globalization. It shouldn't be an obstacle for us as human beings to actually go, to actually interact with other people in reality.
And as you grow older, whatever you had in the old country becomes more precious and more important. These are just your memories, and there's also some nostalgia connected with them because they're, for better or worse, they are part of your life. I've armed myself about falling into nostalgia and looking backwards. Still, of course, there are some regrets. What becomes a home, more than the actual country, the social structure or the political structure, is the realm of art, of culture, particularly of music. It is difficult to be cold listening to Bach cantata or listening to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which of course now is the hymn of the European Union.
If we want to build a multicultural society, I think that it can be only in the respect of every identity. It may be persons who are in between, who are translated, using the expression of Salman Rushdie. I think that I am a translated person because of all these languages, dialects.
At Dickinson, it has actually been a little bit hard for me being a foreign student, but passing as like a typical American person, and that's probably through language. I've assimilated, but I still stand out.
There are a lot of people here who have the same kind of past as I do, with moving around, with sort of being a citizen of the world and speaking various languages and sort of not being able to 100% identify with any one culture or one people or language.
It's not about being purely American, purely Italian, purely French, or purely Jewish. It's about being, you know, who you are, and just to change, you know, go along with your life and modify yourself according to the situations which you are. So fuck the purity, you know.
The more you travel, and the more you learn, the more difficult I think it is to say, I am this. The fact that I have these two languages and these multiple cultures within myself means that I aspire to become genuinely a citizen of the world. Promote this idea of being a global citizen and help build the connections between people and countries.
And I kind of consider myself as a world citizen. You know, I kind of feel like I can fit in any culture.
So yeah, that's how I conceive my citizenship in the world.
Now, if you think about hybrid identities and things like this, you run up against a problem. Modern states do this. All our states that we're subjects and citizens of want this. They want us to be one thing. The United States is, as someone said earlier, somewhat unique in this. It is easy to be hyphenated American, right? It is much less easy to be hyphenated Turkish, or indeed hyphenated French. You can be, but it is not natural, normal, it's not accepted the same way.